Afternoon. Welcome to Web Technology and Mini Project Lab. So we'll see the PPT. So here the subject code 17CSL77, the experiment number 6. So the title problem statement is write a PHP program to keep track of number of visitors visiting the web page and to display the count of visitors with the proper heading. So what we need to do here, we need to keep the track of number of visitors visiting the web page. So whenever you are loading a web page into the browser, that web page has been visited how many times the visitors, right? So to do that, we need to have some plan. First, we have to store a counter value as 0. Initially set count value as 0 so that whenever we load freshly in the web browser, the web page, that web page count has to be start from 1, right? So for that reason, we are storing a value count as 0, count value as a 0, right? Then every time whenever the page is loaded, whenever a page is loaded, that time a count has to be accessed, then it has to be incremented by 1. Again it display it, then once it is displayed, store the new value into the text file, right, into the counter variable. So that is a plan. Actually what we need to do, first initialize count as value is 0, then access it, increment it by 1, then display it, then after displaying again store the new value into the counter variable, right? So let us start how this counter value has to be initialized with 0 and where it has to be initialized to 0. So to make a counter value and to check the number of visitors visited the web page, we need a text file. So this has to be done with the text file, right? So here where to store the count value, count of visitors. So we need to create a sample text file, so where you can store the number of visitors visited the web page, right? So how to access the count from a text file using PHP code, right? So later once we have stored the counter value, we need to access the count value from the text file what we have created using a PHP, right? Then once we stored, then we need to access the text file count and handle those value with a simple file handling functions, right? Here what we are using a text file. So text file has to be opened to read the data. Then once we increment the counter value, it has to be updated in the file text file. So using a one of the file function, then close the file handling function, right? So to do this process, we require some of the PHP file handling functions, right? So there are 4 file handling functions: fopen, fread, fwrite, and fclose function, right? Already these functions you people have learned in one of the languages like in C, C++, or Java programming. So similar functions are used in PHP also, right? Then the syntax of fopen function. Fopen function which takes the 2 parameters, a file name and a mode of a file. In which mode the file has to be opened. So mode which will have 2 values, R and W. R means file opened in read mode or to access its content. Then W means open a file to write the content into it, right? Then this fopen function which returns the value as a file pointer, where the opened file which can be used as a parameter to other function to refer the opened file, right? For this there is an example how we can write the syntax of fopen, right? So dollar handle, which is a variable declared in a PHP and which will open a file, fopen function with the fopen function, the parameter, a file name and a mode of a file. right? The file name is count.txt and mode is an read mode. So once it is opened, if the file is created existing, then the file will be opened in read mode with the file pointer handle dollar handle, right? Then we'll see another function, that is fread. Fread function which reads the content of a file in number of bytes. So fread function which take two parameter, file pointer, then the n bytes. N bytes are nothing but number of bytes to be read from the file. Then it returns a data read from the file, right? How many bytes you are reading, no, that number of file data has to be written from the fread function. So to use this fread function, we need to use a write it in the example like a dollar count equal to fread of a file name and a file pointer with a number of bytes. How many bytes you want to read it from the file, right? So it begins from the beginning of the file. So when you are using fread function with the file pointer and the number of bytes, it starts from the beginning of the file and up to how many bytes you are given, that many bytes of data will be read and stored in a variable, right? In a same fashion, fwrite function is used. Fwrite function also has two parameter, file pointer and a value, right? So file pointer is a pointer which is pointing to the fopen function with the write mode, with the write mode, and value is nothing but the data what we want to write it onto the file, right? Then it returns a number of bytes written onto the file if it is successfully, otherwise on failure, right? It returns false. Right, then the example is fwrite with the file name, file pointer handle, then the count number of bytes, right? So what value you want to write onto the file. Then last comes the function as fclose function. Fclose function, why fclose function is used? Whenever the file is opened for read or write operation, so those operation file pointer has to be closed automatically by the system, or we can close it by mandatorily by using the fclose function. Here we need to provide a file pointer as a parameter to fclose function, right? So file pointer which written by the open file, open function, and it returns a true on success of closing a function file, or a false on a failure, right? So here you can use fclose with a file pointer, fclose with a file pointer dollar handle, right? So this is a example how you can close a file, right? So here this is a main process how we can create a text file and read the data from the file. Now we'll see how this process can be implemented with the help of PHP. Now we'll move to text editor. We'll move to the text editor. Here text editor notepad plus plus is used. So I'll just move to a notepad plus plus, where we can write a code for the program. We need to count number of visitors visited the web page, right? So I have written a PHP code within a HTML, right? So the first line HTML, then the body of the HTML, under the body of a body of the HTML I have written a PHP code. So PHP will be begin with a less than symbol and a question mark with the keyword PHP. This is a beginning of the PHP tag, and ending will be closing a question mark and greater than symbol, right? Angular bracket. So here within this tag, we need to specify the PHP code, right? So first line which prints the refresh page, the heading of a page, right? I have used print function with the HTML tag h3 to display the refresh page, right? Then after displaying a message, I have to open a file. So opening a file can be done with the fopen function, right? So f open function, then the function name of a file and a read mode, right? Read mode. So here we need to specify a name of a function, name of a file. So text file. So text file is, if I have given 1.txt, so text file has to be created. So if it is 1.txt, then I'll store it as 1.txt and store it in a variable $name. So in PHP, the variables are prefixed with a dollar. So it indicates a variable, right? Then once the file is created and it is opened in read mode, if the file is not existing, then it will give you a error, can't open a file, can't open a file, right? With a die function, right? If the file is already existing, then it is open for read and file pointer is $5, right? Then we need to read the content of the file using the fscanf function, right? Even you can use fread function, right? So here it reads the content of the file using the file pointer, then store it in a variable $hits. Then once it is stored, access the value of the 1.txt, then increment the value. Once it is incremented, display it. Then we need to store back that increment value in a count 1.txt. Right? Once it is done this process, then we need to display the number of visitors visited the page using a variable $hit. Right? So we'll see this execution, how this will be showing the output, right? So save the content. How to save? Just go to file, save the file where you need to save, because this is a server side scripting, so we have to save it in a specified location. So I have installed a WAMP server. So in a WAMP server we need to store the file. So go to C. In the C there is an WAMP folder. So go to WAMP, then ww file folder, then projects. Under projects I have to store it as an program 6, and which type? It is a PHP type. Select a PHP type, right? Then save it. Then save. So now the file is saved with a program6.php, right? Once it is stored, create a 1.txt with a value 0, right? Create a file with 1.txt in a same folder itself. Then only we have to give directly the file name while opening a file for the counter, right? So 1.txt we need to store. So I'll save, I'll open a file, I'll create a file here with the count 0. Then save this file as a 1.txt. 1.txt. I'll save it. Then here I have stored as a value 0, right? 0. So save this file. Now run the file. So program6.php, we need to run it. So where to run? So we have to run it in a browser, right? So this is a server side scripting. So we have to start the server. So before starting it, I'll share my window how you need to start the WAMP server, right? So just to go to WAMP server, double click on the WAMP server. It allows you to run it in the background. So it will ask a permission. So here, if you say yes, then it will start running the WAMP server, right? Just look at the taskbar here, the WAMP icon, which will be in green color, right? It indicates it is in a online mode, right? Now, once it is on, then start all services. Start all the services. Just click on that W icon in the taskbar, then go to localhost. Go to localhost. Here in the localhost, it will open the WAMP server configuration. So here under projects folder, we need to we have stored the files, right? So just go to the proper file, that is program6.php. Just click on this. It will show you the number of time the web page will be loaded into the browser, right? Whenever you view the web page, so that web page views will be incremented. So initially we have set the 1.txt as 0, right? So here the page count will be, views will be 1, because it is incremented by 1, then storing the value in a 1.txt. If I refresh the page, again the count will be incremented by 1, that is 2. So it goes on incrementing how many times if you visit the page or if you click the refresh page, right? So here it is 1890, right? So this is how we can check how many times the user hit the page. Hitting is nothing but how many times the user loading a web page into the browser. So that count has been done with the help of a PHP, right? So this is a lab 6th program. We'll continue with the next lab in the next video, right? Thank you.